I would like to tell you that nobody saw this massive dip coming, but once we blew past 54K for Bitcoin, it was all but a certainty. But the one thing you can do now is start looking around at other coins that you wish you had accumulated more of before the gigantic run up. One thing's for certain, the compound effects of buying these coins at these prices will have down the road will be massive. But one thing to keep in mind is Bitcoin dominance controls this market. People have to start taking profits out of Bitcoin and putting them into altcoins so they can run. It's one of the most important metrics in all of crypto. Today, I was joined by Carl from the Moon Channel to talk about something brewing that could be massive, leading to a hyper altcoin super cycle. Let's get it. BitSwap is the hottest new way to trade tokens. Crawling all the top decentralized exchanges, BitSwap gets you the very best price and value for your trades. BitSwap is changing the game. Try it now at bitswapdex.io. All right, guys, I'm joined here with Carl from the Moon. You're one of your favorite channels, one of my favorite channels. Carl, how are you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic here in sunny Dubai. Thank you for having me on the channel.
Absolutely, man. I got to come out there and visit you sometime. It definitely looks better than the weather I'm having. But let's just get into it. I know that, we use the word altcoin season a lot. We just throw it around like, nonchalantly. But when we really look back at 2017, there were kind of two distinct periods where the altcoins absolutely just crushed it. The biggest one starting, kind of in November, really got going in late December and then through January. And you've actually uncovered some stuff with the Bitcoin dominance chart, I believe, that shows that we could potentially be heading towards one of those parabolic altcoin cycles. Do you kind of want to talk about that for a little bit and show us what you're looking at?
Exactly, because back in 2017-18, we saw something absolutely crazy where we saw coins go 50x, 100x week after week. And what I'm seeing in the chart is that there is a level that we should be watching, because if we break this level, we could see something similar. So let's get right into the chart. All right, so what you can see here is the Bitcoin dominance. And for everyone who don't know, the Bitcoin dominance is simply just a measurement of Bitcoin's dominance over the crypto market. So basically, when the dominance goes up, this is good for Bitcoin and bad for altcoins. And when the Bitcoin dominance goes down, this is what is generally called as an altcoin season, where altcoins are doing well. Now, you can define altcoin season different ways, because just going slightly down like this would be considered boring for most people in crypto because it's too slow. But when you see something like this, for example, when the Bitcoin dominance collapses somehow, you can say that's a clear altcoin season. That's when you see these like very aggressive moves in altcoins in on a weekly basis. And also this here, this is from back in 2018, when we saw very, very violent swings. And the most aggressive altcoin season we had was, of course, back here from 2017, when we saw a huge hype. So basically, this is what we want to look out for. When we see these sharp declines in the Bitcoin dominance, we want to take advantage of this, and we want to jump in on the altcoin train. Now, let's zoom in a little bit to the most recent price action. And well, we did have a pretty sharp decline right here. And this is, the past few weeks and months, we have seen altcoins do very well, as you may have noticed, guys. And the question is, of course, what's going to happen in the next few months. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I believe is going to happen, because things are looking very interesting here. First of all, I want to point your attention towards this upwards trending white line here. If you look at this, we have a very, very clear support line, and the support goes all the way since back in 2018 from the absolute top of the previous altcoin cycle. This was when the altcoins topped out, and ever since that point, we've never seen altcoins come back to that kind of dominance in the market. Basically, that was the low for the Bitcoin dominance. And then we back tested it once again. So we have two clear bounces off of this level. And look at this. A few, 2 years later, we did see a very, very clear bounce off of the exact same level here. And now like that's enough to pay attention. When you have three clear bounces off of a level, that means the trend line is super significant and you want to pay close attention. So as you can see, interestingly, the Bitcoin dominance is right now testing this exact level. So this is the fourth time. And one thing we have to pay attention to in technical analysis is that the more times we test a level, the likelier it gets that it eventually gets broken. So, of course, this is not a guarantee. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that we're guaranteed to come down here. However, when and if we do break this level, I am sure we're going to see a huge altcoin season. And this altcoin season could easily take us all the way down to at least this level to retest this previous support. And this could take us down to 51% approximately. So this means that the dominance could fall down like 15, 16%. And this would be a huge altcoin season. It would be slightly bigger than the one that we just saw. But what if the altcoins could go even lower? What if we can go all the way down to the previous lows, down to the levels where we were back in 2018 at 37% approximately? That could be something very, very interesting, because if this happens, then this would basically be, it could have the potential to be the biggest altcoin season that we have seen in crypto history. And it's not only that we're breaking this horizontal or this upward trending level, but we also have this horizontal level. And if you look at it, it's very, very significant. We have resistance right there, slight support right there, support right there, support right there. Right now we're testing it. So it's converging exactly with this upward trending support. So as you can see, very, very key level. Obviously, we could get a bounce here. But what I'm saying is that if we break it, pay attention, guys. That would be the time to definitely get into altcoins and make some huge swing trades, because I think that this could lead to, like I said, maybe the biggest altcoin season we have seen before.
I think that makes total sense, that we would go lower with the Bitcoin dominance, because, kind of when you look at Bitcoin dominance throughout the years, you'll see there was a time where it was extremely high. Like if you looked at that chart, you saw in the very beginning, it was all the way on the top left because Bitcoin dominance was around 90%. And then you have a lot of these really legit altcoin projects that come out, and all of a sudden it starts dropping. It got down, I think, in the 35-ish percent range in the last cycle. And I think it just makes sense. Like there's more altcoins now. We've got like 8,500 on coin market cap. And there's also a lot of really legit projects that are doing really legit things. And I think because of that, naturally that Bitcoin dominance is going to go down. I think by the end of this market in this year, Bitcoin dominance will not be much over 50%, even when after it drops and it comes back up. I think, 50% will be about the new 70%. 70% is where it's hovered for like a long time. Finally broke down to around 60%. I think 50% is probably where it's going to end up at, because there's just too much going on in crypto right now for Bitcoin to continue to have this, stranglehold on the crypto world. So now let me ask you this just kind of last question. If the Bitcoin dominance does break and the altcoins do start running, for you, someone who's very heavy in Bitcoin, you love Bitcoin, you think Bitcoin is, far and away the best coin. Like, what is your suggestion to people at that point who are kind of in your camp? Do you just stick with Bitcoin? You just ride it out and just, eat the drop of the dominance, or what do you start looking to do?
Yeah. So, for example, throughout the bear market since 2017, I've been almost 100% Bitcoin. And that played out well because most altcoins did actually dump much harder than Bitcoin. So for me, that was a very, very good decision now in hindsight. Then when the market started to heat up again, I started to reinvest some of my Bitcoin into altcoins, Ethereum for sure, and then a few other smaller coins. And that has also played out well since, because I think the strategy someone should have is that when you're in a bear market, you want to go into Bitcoin because it's safer and the volatility to the downside is just less or lower. When you're in a heated bull market, you want to go into more risk. You want to find more risk, and you find this in, of course, Ethereum and other altcoins out there. So the same happens here. if we break this key level, then it makes sense for me to increase my risk and increase my exposure to altcoins. And whether that's Ethereum or other altcoins or DeFi, that depends on kind of like up to the person buying. Like, what are you bullish on? What do you believe in? And personally, I do believe in Ethereum, so I could easily see myself increase my Ethereum holdings if we break this level. I also think that DeFi is a narrative that is working out very well currently. I could see myself also increase my exposure to DeFi. I already have exposure to DeFi, but I could easily increase that. I think that this is what I'm currently, that's my plan in this moment. I don't have any specific coins to share with you, but generally getting exposure to altcoins when you see hype like this is very important. So that's why I think we should keep a close attention to this key level, because that is our entry. That is our signal, basically.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And, you did mention Ethereum. I think that's obviously a pretty good play when this thing breaks out, because it hasn't truly, in my opinion, broke out yet. So, Carl, thank you as always for joining the channel. We really appreciate it. You guys, Carl's link will be down below in the video description, so you guys can go follow Carl. You got any last words for us, Carl?
Bitcoin to the moon and altcoins to Mars, maybe.
There you go. I love it. All right, guys, we will catch you on the next video. That's all I got. Be blessed. BitBoy out.